Hey everyone, welcome to the Geo Community Call for April 20th. It was another great week last week. I saw a bunch of things flying all over X, people building really cool stuff and showing it. Was really cool to see throughout the week. If you posted some stuff and shared it, thank you. Just awesome to see like what people can build and what they dream up and what they get out there. So yeah, great work everyone. Hopefully maybe we can do some demos today. People want to show some of the things they've been working on. Um, we had a great discussion last week around workflows to kind of unblock curators using subspaces. It'd be interesting to link up on that today and see how that's been working for people. See if we've got a better workflow, if there's open questions, things we need to do there. So we'll make time for discussion there today. Yeah, why don't we start looking back at what people have published over the last week. Arturas, you want to give us an overview of last week? You're muted.
Yep. So let me share the screen and let's do a quick walkthrough. So a bunch of submissions. So we have here AdChain and network profiles, a list of the profiles, active addresses, max recorded TPS, max theoretical TPS, native assets, a bunch of data for each. Add 10 AI tools for video generation. So AI tools is a content priority for us. It's a very practical type of data that is also very lively. So it keeps us on our toes. We need to sort of keep up as it evolves. And also this is something practical. We can make some of our own stuff. So we start organizing it here. We have the developers, the docs, the pricing model, the software license. So this is great. Like I'm really looking forward to starting ranking these, and so that we can together agree sort of which are the best tools for each use case, and we can start making our own decisions here. So that's some fun stuff. Then let's take a look at the highlights on smart contract info for top 100 protocols. This is some additional. Just some data with a lot of information for each entity. It's a lot of work for organizing. So that's a solid one data set here. Structure all topics within the space. This is a harder task. I would say like this is an undertaking. This requires an understanding a bit of ontology and of the space or domain entirely, so that we would have topics and subtopics right here. And a topic hierarchy is essentially like a foundation, a skeleton of the entire space. And you can start building extra types on each of the topics. And that way you start adding semantics. But this is a great sort of foundation building, and also browsability, because we can browse from general topics to subtopics and later to their subtopics. So it's a huge undertaking actually to take this and do it right. Victor, structure all topics within the crypto space. So from the AI to crypto and the same type of bounty, we issued the same bounties for each space. So also the same. And he was showing us his work throughout the week, and we're discussing some of these things. And the idea was to first list some of the higher level and clearly important ones. And then we'll build up step by step. So it's work in progress. We already have like initial important ones and some initial hierarchies here. So in the health space, one thing I want to show, so we have projects which are startups. And so we're starting to organize the initial startups here, sort of the top startups for certain categories. We're still going to categorize them, but basically we'll be able to see like which startups are up and coming, worth our attention. Headspace is a cool one. It's a meditation one. And like actually it's like a long time there. So, and to keep this practical, wearable health devices. So everyone should be wearing those. The science is out on this, and basically, we need just to know which ones, right? Like, so what do we wear to actually get like the best data and make the best health decisions? So for wearable device as a type, and we can organize them by their by benefits, by weaknesses, and we can all become a little bit healthier. So more to come of this. Like we'll be looking more into the different devices and seeing how can we actually improve our practical information on that. And some additional thing I wanted to show. Okay, so and for lastly, Pierrick did an open sourced a knowledge graph explorer. So just a quick showcase of the video here of how it works. So I would say this is one of the bigger, nicer contributions in a while on the technical side.
Ooh, and I think we have Pierrick on the call, so I don't know if we want to do a demo. But yeah, this is super exciting.
Yeah, this is huge. This is huge. So really nice. So definitely, and also like really appreciate the open sourcing things. We are a community here. We are a platform, and we're sharing knowledge. We're growing together here and creating cool tools and open sourcing, sharing them with the community is just really appreciated. And it's not just about giving the tool, but it's also contributing to the vibe of the community by creating cool tools and sharing them with us. So yeah, really impressive. And Pierrick in general gave also like really good among the health space, like really exciting to see the work of Pierrick being done here. So major props, Pierrick, for contributions. So that much on the content side.
Great, awesome. Yeah, great updates. Cool. And Preston, how are things looking on the product side?
Things are looking good. Have some exciting feature updates to kind of show this week. We really made a big sprint to get some onboarding features in last week, so I will show those off right now. So there's kind of three things. So you probably already noticed this, but we have this sidebar now. It's collapsible. And so instead of going up to click on your profile up tier to get to your personal space, it's now exists in this sidebar. You'll also notice in the sidebar there is a root, explore, personal space, governance, and documentation, as well as listing of all of the spaces you're an editor of and all the spaces you're a member of. And then if you are not a member of some of the main spaces, it'll have the featured spaces section that you can click on and then request membership from there. So this root button will just bring you back to the root space. Explore will actually bring you to this explore feed here, which essentially is there's a few white labeled types that exist in this explore page. Person, project, papers, other things that just have generally good quality content. And it is time. Currently we only have a sort by time, so it's just the most recent. And then you can kind of go through, upvote, downvote, comment on things, and just generally see the state of Geo. This is great for somebody who kind of first gets onto the Geo platform and can start to kind of understand what Geo entities are and start to participate by either upvote, downvoting, or coming in and commenting on things. The other thing you'll notice is there's this governance tab. So the governance tab is going to bring you to I'm actually not even on the main page right now, but that's okay. It's going to bring you to a screen where you have my proposals, or so your review proposals tab and a my proposals tab. So the review proposals tab will allow you to filter between the different spaces you are an editor of. You can look at either all proposals, just knowledge proposals, just membership proposals, or space settings proposals. And then you can also filter between pending, accepted, or rejected. So this can kind of help you go through and make sure that if you're an editor of a space that you can easily see kind of what proposals need your attention. And then you can also go over to the My Proposals section, and this will show you any proposals that you have submitted that are currently pending, and you have the same filters here to kind of go through and see the different proposals that you've submitted. So that's useful as we go through and you're submitting proposals or reviewing proposals. And the last thing to call out here is this AI assistant here. So right now, this AI assistant is seeded with all the knowledge base from Geo documentation. So you can kind of click into here, learn about Geo, understand the different ontological principles, understand everything about building on the Geo platform. And then the next iteration of this, where we actually want this AI chatbot to be able to publish ops for you. So this would be things like, I want to set up a new data block on this entity, or even like this data block's not showing the right data. So it can actually fix it for you from the AI chatbot. So we're working on that improvement right now. So those are the three main onboarding features we got implemented last week. So if you guys have any questions about them or suggestions, feel free to drop them in Discord, and we can talk about them there.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Great updates. Thank you. All right. And Adam, anything curators should know about with focus areas and posting things?
Sure. Also wanted to just share a few of the posts that were created and kind of some of the work that's being done by curators, because I think it's always cool to kind of see. Let me just share my screen 1 second. All right. So as mentioned, we had quite a lot of exciting kind of projects that were built last week. In case you missed them, highly encourage you to kind of, check them out. A lot of you guys are on the call, so thank you. Maxime built an amazing open source kind of open data dashboard that helps us kind of track the situation on the Iran war front. Here, as mentioned, we built a kind of a local tool that helps you iterate on your ontology locally. Hopefully, he can maybe share a little more at the end of the call. Thomas built something really cool around education to kind of help compare access, funding, and outcomes across countries. This is a prototype that he built last week, where you can basically compare any country with various different kind of metrics. Again, really nice to see, how quickly you guys have been able to build all these things. Kieran, who's kind of our bioinformatics expert, had a long chat with him today about some of the kind of health kind of genetic data that we can bring onto Geo, particularly looking at kind of the focus area of kind of like cancer. Very cool thing that he built, which is a cell model. You can kind of feed it different drugs or metabolites and stuff, and it shows you what gets upregulated or downregulated in the cell. And then this was what I built, kind of extracting the different claims from the various sources, articles, videos, etc. on the Iran war, and then built a little dashboard to kind of present, the different perspectives, the evidence, etc., etc. So that's just kind of a small overview. If you haven't seen, we're also starting to produce a bit more content, and particularly video content. Would love for our community to also help kind of amplify these videos. Some of them are already getting really good traction, 3,000 views on this one that I made last week. So yeah, don't hesitate to kind of share and amplify all these great projects. It's always nice to see the community kind of vibing together. On the announcement side of things, so you might have seen today that we announced um, something which is kind of a community challenge, weekly community challenge. The idea, it's called GeoForge, is to get kind of newer curators as well as experienced curators to proactively post on Geo about topics that they care about, and to do this in a kind of fun way. We're seeing that a lot of people feel stuck when they don't have a bounty, particularly the newer curators, whom we can't really give expert bounties to from the start. We think that having a bit of a community challenge with different themes every week will help everybody kind of showcase their skills, earn a bit of recognition, and that's kind of the path that we want curators to take, so that they can earn, let's say, the right and the expertise to work on really big expert bounties. So every week we'll be posting kind of a different theme. Feel free to post in your personal space, and you'll be able to kind of demo it. What we are doing to track all of these contributions is anybody that, if you've done a contribution, you can post it by tagging Geo Protocol. We'll be monitoring all of that, and every week we'll be giving a little bit of a shout out to people, and rewarding people, with various rewards, going from a shout out all the way to points for really good contributions. A great success story from this, and one of the reasons why we want to start doing this. One of our curators, Levan, actually posted in his personal space about a topic he cared about, which was archaeology, and how AI is helping kind of advance archaeological discoveries. And we thought it was a very, he had put a lot of effort in his contribution, and it turned out that, we gave him an expert bounty to kind of continue the work that he was doing. So that's kind of what we want other curators to kind of, figure out Geo, post about topics they care about, and that will help us also, assign you bounties. So yeah, just wanted to share that on my end.
Cool. And as far as focus areas, so I think two areas that we want to start going a lot deeper in is, well, world affairs. We've talked about that for a little while, and US politics. We've been waiting to try out new scheduling feature with our community calls before kicking off the world affairs community call. So we still have not kicked that off, but the space has been quite active with like Geo News. So people have been posting things from Geo News. I think it's been a great base for publishing interesting content from. There's a lot to organize there. We saw Adam's thing on like the Iran war, super interesting. You look at what's happening with NATO and all of these different areas, where I'm actually really excited to get those community calls kicked off. So keep an eye out for that. With US politics, there are midterm elections coming up in November, and that's going to be a really big deal. The US is just one country, but it does impact a lot of the world. And I think there's a good opportunity to organize a lot of stuff there. So watch out for those spaces. Please join the community calls, and you can start just messing around, publishing things. Okay, so yeah, these are the priority spaces right there. That's right. So first topic of conversation that I'd like to bring up and discuss is how things have been going with creating different spaces. We kind of have this tension, which I think is an interesting one, between curation and quality control, both when it comes to the content and the ontologies. But I think there was a bit of a sense of like sometimes it's easy to just kind of learn by trying and iterating. Right now we just have one environment. In the future, we will have two environments between like a testnet and a mainnet, where maybe people feel even more comfortable just kind of publishing things to the testnet and screwing around and getting feedback. But last week we discussed, creating more spaces where, we would be a little bit looser on the governance there, and people could publish and try things out. It would be curious to get any feedback from people. Let's maybe open up for some discussion on how that's been going. Has it helped? Are there issues in the workflow there? How's that going for people?
Maybe I can do a quick intro of some of the changes we did with these new spaces and how it's working out now in practice. So let me, I think, even share the screen here. So in practice right now, the way that the bounty publishing is happening, first of all, curators who already understand well the structures, the ontologies, they are welcome to publish directly into the main space, and all good. And that's the goal, is to be able to have the skill to. However, there is sometimes a need for experimentation, a need for feedback and iteration. So now we have a spaces called data sets, and each of the main space has that. Crypto space data sets, AI data sets, health data sets. So this is a related space of the, in this case, part of the health space. And because it's not our canonical space, we can be much looser about it. And the curators can just become editors, as here they are, which means that they can publish data right away, they can upload their own content, and they can publish it quickly. And because it's not a canonical space, actually you can experiment more. If you want to, maybe a type is missing, a property you want to add, just go ahead and do it. And we'll take a look how it looks from here. And if you will be able to make a really good data set with your bounty that's actually conforms to all of our standards, it's going to get moved to the canonical space. But here you can be looser, and the bottlenecks are over. At this point, just you don't really need a lot of hand-holding. Just go ahead, publish your data. It's all there. One additional thing that's relevant to this is that we have updated the documentation. So we have a documentation space right here, and all of this is the education that we had before, and we have a new tab here called Curators Package. So Curators Package, it is the latest documentation that we have redid, the editors, based on the things we learned throughout the initial phase of the Curator program. So specifically, this should help with most of the blockers. So adding content to Geo, for example, step-by-step guide of how do we want to add the content, what are the general principles, how do we do that? Let's say creating types and properties. So this was kind of a blocker. We wanted, basically the editor had to ask an editor for the types you need. You have a conversation, we add it, but the review took sometimes some time. Here it's we have a clear way, how do you add a type and property? You can do that into the dataset space directly, and you're good to go. Another thing is before publishing your bounty and content standards. So these are great because if you take a look at these documents before actually submitting your bounty, the chances that you're going to get some more points increases, because this is exactly some of the standards, and sort of based on the mistakes that we have been observing, some patterns, all of this is addressed here. So, for example, check quality of your data. We even are sharing the prompt that we use to check the data as you publish it. And so writing that yourself can be good.
It's looking really good. I do wonder for this call, we do have some more experienced folks as well. But this is really great. And I think will really help new users.
Yeah. And one quick note on that.
Mm-hmm.
Just even for experienced folks, adding these documents to your LLM is actually will explain to your LLM how to do these things. And, your LLM can actually do things better if this context is there. Just a quick note on that.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Really great work here. I think it's going to be super helpful. But yeah, I did want to open it up for discussion if people have any feedback or experience from the week. Do we think this new approach is generally working?
Maybe it's worth raising a quick note. So we have noticed that some curators are not publishing data to these public spaces that we created, but they publish to their own personal space. And maybe it's worth checking here. Is it the strategy that we want to promote? Is it okay? What's the guiding principle that would differentiate publishing to the these related spaces, like dataset spaces, versus your own personal space?
Yeah, I think it's a totally reasonable place to start. So I'm very much in support of that. Now, it's not going to get surfaced right away. We do want to have tools that make it easy to move content between spaces. So maybe you start out, you publish to your personal space, it looks good, people check it out, and then you decide to move it or copy it to a public space. I think that could be a good workflow.
Yeah, I think that's what a few of the curators that I've been working with last week are doing. It's kind of a shift, but it also allows us to kind of go to publishing quicker without, risking screwing up some of the core public, geospaces. And I think that's helpful in helping us figure out ontologies as well. I don't know if you mentioned this, Arturas, but we also published our first kind of skills that help agents query and understand what the kind of available ontologies are. I've been using that, and it's been working very well with Codex. It's a skill basically that goes and looks up in all the kind of public and root spaces if there's any properties and types that are already created. And then it tries to match the ontology that is necessary to structure the data that we're working on to available entities and properties, and then it suggests a potential new ontology. So I think that's quite cool, and we can I'll drop the GitHub link in the chat.
Yeah, so one of the things that I think we've seen the last week has been, I mean, how effective you can be with AI publishing content. And, would really love to get to a place where people are able to publish really quickly. Like something happens, you investigate it, you find interesting things, and then you just like publish some related content right away. That'll allow us to be more timely when it comes to news, when it comes to, things that are happening in the world. And so I think, having a good set of skills and scripts to do that kind of stuff is super useful. So we do have a repo that we just created. Like Adam said, we're going to be sharing it out. We'd love that to be a place that we just add to. The best practices as different people come up with it, improve their workflows. We can update it somewhere and everyone can pull it down. Um, so keep an eye out for that. Cool. All right, maybe we can talk a little bit about bounties. So, how are people feeling generally with, I guess, I think that for our first round, it took us a while, to have our workflows to review bounties, to create new bounties, to assign them to people. So, maybe open discussion on any feedback there, any process things. I'm sure, editors are discussing these things kind of, internally, but maybe good to also have some kind of public discussion on workflows, what's working, what could be improved.
We do have an update on that from our side as well. So I'm happy to give like a floor to anyone who have notes, but if not, I can give an update from our side.
Sounds good. Let's give people maybe a minute to jump in. We have an open floor.
This is Kevin. Can everybody hear me? I can demo real quick at the end. And then maybe I can kind of talk through bounties, but I started with like a really big bounty and a really big concept, and that was a lot to chew. And I'm kind of getting to an endpoint, but as I kind of transition here, it's like, what's next kind of? I know there's different projects out here, but maybe when I'm demoing for you, my mind's like, how do I turn these into bounties now? Like I do kind of want to keep building out when I'm building because I think it's kind of neat, but that's kind of where my head's going now. I'm about to wrap this big one up, so I kind of wanted to keep working on this stuff. So that would be my question there, and maybe I get some feedback on that later.
Cool. Yeah, a great use case to kind of talk through, or I guess example. So in your case, you have a project you're working on that you've been like personally interested in. It overlaps with one of our active spaces. So it's been kind of like a bigger project. How would you describe, I guess, your willingness and just kind of like how it's felt for you to tackle a big chunk of work, kind of as like hoping that you'll get kind of points at the end of that? Has that been kind of comfortable? And then it sounds like there's kind of this process afterwards where you want to know, hey, is there appetite for me to continue with this? How much would it be worth in terms of points? Is that kind of how you're thinking about it?
You're nailing it. That's exactly it. I'm actually very comfortable. This has been awesome. So I want to keep getting the floor and then gushing, but I feel comfortable with the people around me are very intelligent. We're all building cool stuff. I'm just happy to be here. So to take a big swing and to get to show my skills was the big thing, but then trying to figure out, is this even helpful? Because at the beginning it was like too big of a swing, I think. So I want to make sure that it's helpful and I'm on the right track. And then also, I do want to earn points at the end of the day. I do want to kind of do that. So just I've kind of gotten a better feel for what that'll look like here. And even just working on my one big bounty here, the people have come in and helped me chunk it and turn it into smaller things and whatnot. But I guess, yes, I'm very into this. I think this is really cool, the decentralized drug database thing. I feel like I've made a lot of progress on it. So to pivot to something else, which I would love to do too, would be cool to score points, but I feel like maybe there's a way to intersect so that I could keep working on this and then it does have value. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing. So there's some element where, being a curator is, it's a little bit like entrepreneurship, right? You're coming up with ideas, you're trying stuff. And it's this interesting thing in Geo where essentially like, we kind of consider knowledge to be a form of like public goods that we're growing, right? A lot of people can benefit from it. And with kind of public goods, part of the issue is you're not always getting kind of the market feedback. Like if you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to sell something, it's like, okay, can I get people to buy it? And that's your, market feedback. But it's public goods. It's like, okay, I'm creating something that everyone can benefit from, but how do we know whether it's being useful or, and that becomes an interesting question for, resource and capital allocation. And so, I think with that stuff, having feedback over time, we'll be able to have signals like, maybe from different API services where we can know, hey, how much are people querying from this stuff as a proxy for utility from other editors and curators and how they're responding as far as kind of upvoting and endorsing, different work. I think this becomes a really interesting thing for us to kind of uh, give structure to as a community for how we value this stuff. But I will say, obviously, we've picked out health as being one of the initial spaces. I feel like there's a nice, small community that's forming there. And it's really going to be kind of up to the editors to try to find that kind of trade-off of like what are the highest value places to focus. It seems like, yeah, the area that you're working in is really interesting, and that there's a lot of good that can come from that. So I think it's exciting to me. It's probably exciting to the editors. I think this sort of decentralized coordination is, I guess, the way we'll do that. So right, it's kind of up to the editors of a space how they want to distribute points. And over time, there will be more editors that are part of a space that can help with that. As a space maybe gets too big, we'll create subspaces, and those subspaces can then make those allocation decisions. So, we're kind of bootstrapping this initially with kind of a small community. As we add people, we'll be creating more and more subspaces that kind of distributes the decision-making power out more and more. And I think that's the way we kind of want to handle it. So yeah, great conversation, great prompt. Maybe some initial thoughts from my side, but this is, something for us to co-create together. And I am curious right now. We mostly have the editors of the existing spaces. We've started to create some subspaces. We're a pretty small group to start. We're going to be growing and opening up for another wave, I think, pretty soon. But right now, we just wanted to work closely with the initial cohort to get things polished. But are people feeling that they would like want to try to be editors of subspaces? Or people happy continuing to curate? I guess what's thought process there? I mean, it's obviously a different skill set or like focus area, right? It's kind of like being like it's like a manager versus an IC. It's like individual contributor. Like it's kind of nice to just publish stuff. It's a different set of skills to be like or focus area to be like reviewing other people's work and helping them out and things like that. So
My thought here
Okay.
quickly is I'll say that one, I feel like an entrepreneur, and I don't expect my decentralized drug database to just land me a bunch of points. If it's a crappy idea and it doesn't work, it won't work. I believe in it. So I'm kind of trying to build it out. The whole show don't tell kind of thing is neat. So I'll try to demo at the end here and
hell
show
yeah.
value here. But yeah, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I'm here. So I would love to be an editor of a subspace and get more involved as much as I can. I have that capacity. So
Amazing. Awesome.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
so one quick note about Kevin. So he is a rare member of our elite curator club. He is top of the top right now, and so great working with you, Kevin. And
likewise.
yeah, and one question that I have for you, like, so as we are now writing new bounties, and we are like, I'll demo actually if you want, like a few today, and we were discussing about it's a big conversation, scope of the bounty, and that's an interesting conversation, and I see like two ways to go there, and you did mention a few times during the curator community call, like you're showing the data set that's not on Geo, but you're like sharing sort of the big data set that you're still going through. And you mentioned a few times, hey, like I wish I could have already moved it to Geo, but I still not. And there was a bit of that tension. So I'm wondering, would it be helpful either to make bounties smaller and you can like do multiple bounties in a row, so you would get like maybe like a smaller amount of points every week as you do the demo, or it could be still a big bounty because some projects are big, but we do now have a task type on Geo. And maybe we could split bounty into tasks. And one task would be, I think like the best way to go about it is one task is 1 week. And essentially we have one call a week for each space. And basically you do the demo for that time and we evaluate the demo on Geo that you're able to do. It's like one step and one step is a week. I feel like that could be maybe a good reference point of how to structure the bounties.
For me too, and for anybody new coming in, that definitely. I know you were trying to help me break it down there because I was getting a little too big in scope. I think that's a much better way to go about doing it. And from an entrepreneurial standpoint, like we have some people coming in here with big ideas that maybe I mean, Kieran gave a demo last week that went right over my head, but it was so cool. Like, I'm an entrepreneur here, right? Like maybe I can make my own and present it to you, right? My own business plan, my own pathway, I have an idea, a very clear idea of how I would scope this out. So it could be incumbent on me to kind of bring that too, but to break it down into 1 week tasks would have made it easier for me early on here because I was I was going 1,000 miles an hour and then I hit ontology and it was like, oh crap, now I need to figure out how this all is going to work and the SDK works. And I'm there now, and I have everything in my space and it works. But if I had it maybe in bite sizes that was me though. I asked for this. I said, give me everything. So
do you think some of that was kind of like the lack of tooling? Like if there was better like agentic skills and things like that, do you think you would have published sooner, or do you feel like you wanted to get everything to a certain state that just took time before you felt comfortable even wanting to publish?
it was probably 75% me and 25% just like having to work and learn and make it work. It was mostly me because I also like I'm coming in, I'm a pharmacist. I think I'm pretty good technically, but I'm not a dev. So like I'm also like I want to make sure this stuff is good before I give it to you. So you're not like, who's this clown? So there's been a lot of like slow I'm trying to learn too. So it's been less that and more me taking a couple weeks with Armando and Arturas and Adam, whoever, just trying to. I will move way faster now that I have it figured out. So it could just be that, but I took on a huge data set. So to Arturas's point, if I had just taken that a little at a time, I'd be at the same place and probably would have learned a lot quicker too. So
like I do think, yeah. So that's my
tooling was
thinking
there.
is that. Yeah. So my thinking is that, having clear, achievable weekly tasks does give like a dopamine boost. Like you get like, okay, I did this, right? The step is made, and it's less overwhelming, right? Like you have a clear step. So that scoping, I feel like you'd still end up having this huge, amazing data set. It's just like the process might be a bit like smoother and like more pleasant in that case.
Yeah, great conversation and things for us to look for. Uh, Awesome. Cool. So maybe now is a good time to open the floor up for any demos, if anybody wants to demo anything that they've been working on.
I mean, I'll go. I've been talking a lot,
Sweet.
but I'll
Yeah,
go real
let's do
quick.
it.
All right. All right. Let me show you what I got here. Give you an idea of where I'm headed. Okay, so this is my data set here in my personal space. So what I've been trying to do is take a snapshot of the current US product market, starting at the ingredient level and then walking it all the way out to the full product market. And the way I've done this is I've tapped into, let me actually give you a better screen here. I've tapped into RxNorm, the National Institutes of Medicine, and a couple other places. Here we go. Okay, so 1,650 ingredients. All of the ingredients that are imported in my space right here have active product codes. So everything's been like air or oxygen or agar. And this was feedback from the dev team, helped me with this. Anything that had low connection value, we've worked to filter out now. So only the things in here now are the things on the market. And it's easy to refresh. You can refresh it month to month when they release new data, and it'll capture new products. It'll remove new products. That's not necessarily what it's doing right now, but I'll give you an idea of where I'm headed with it here. This is like the high level kind of hierarchy of what I've been working on, but I'm using ingredient like semaglutide, which is Ozempic, or ibuprofen as like the master. I have 1,650 of these, and then I've been working with the team to try to get these codes, which are from the National Institutes of Medicine, to map out all of the products. This is what's in my space right now, all of these data points. It's cool. I can kind of show you what it links off to here. So one ingredient is going to have all the brand names associated with it, all the dose forms. It's going to have all of the generic drugs that are on the market. These are the generic drugs, rather, if there are any, and then all of the branded drugs. And then it's going to, just to kind of give you an idea of where we can go with ingredient, I linked off to PubChem. How to move this? Get out of the way. I linked off to PubChem. So PubChem identifier here. This is a chemical identifier for semaglutide. That'll take us to the actual entry for that. I also linked off to clinical studies. So there's tons of these, but I just put one in there for now. But we can also link off of the ingredient to any clinical studies that are affiliated with it. This is kind of boring. What I'm trying to get to is the NDC, the product level code, and then the prescribing information. There's a bunch of identifiers that let me do this, but basically I can take Ozempic here, and on my front end here that I kind of created, this helps me search all of that product info. So I can look up Ozempic. It's going to show me all of the products on the market for Ozempic or anything like that. And then I can click on a specific product, and it's going to take me to by set ID. So every package insert has what's known as an FDA set ID, and it helps me kind of pull out specific to that one NDC, the exact product info. So this is everything that if you were a pharmacist and you pulled Ozempic tablets, the bottle out and ripped that package insert off the top, this is exactly what would be in it. It's kind of dirty right now. It needs to kind of be cleaned up, but this has all been automated. So we're able to map out from the actual ingredient semaglutide all the way to the drug information and all the NDCs affiliated with it, all the brand names, et cetera, right now. So the last thing I'll say is what I'm working on kind of at the moment is just trying to get this whole data set, which is like, I think it was like 30,000 ops, into the health space. And my code to do that is under review right now. It maybe is not like the sexiest thing that I'm importing, but it'll give me the ability to kind of, and us the ability to kind of tie some better codes on here and and build some tools for drug info.
All
There you
right,
go.
super exciting. What a great data set. I'm curious, so in your personal space, when you published this, roughly how many edits was it that you published? Do you know?
When I published it, I don't I'm thinking of ops is what,
Yeah,
right? Like what's the definition of
if
ops
you pull
edits?
it back up, if you go there and we can just kind of view the kind of the history or the governance, because it's one of the features that we want to make it easier to move content across spaces. One of the ways that we're thinking of approaching this is to let you kind of multi-select edits to kind of move that way. Might be easier than doing it at an entity level. But if it's, a smaller number of edits, it might be easier to like check them and then say, hey, move or copy.
This is
Uh,
actually really, so I'm using the SDK, like this will take me like 15 seconds to roll back and then another 15 to put into health. It's actually
right.
gotten really quick. It's cool.
Yeah.
So I think it'd
Okay,
be
great.
easy to move into the health space.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we could also maybe something like this makes sense to put in a subspace as well. We need to work on kind of our aggregation features so that kind of the health space could roll it up. But if this was going to be a subspace, I guess like drugs, it kind of maps to the subtopics that we have right now. So, right, if you go to health, you see a bunch of subtopics. I think that's something we could do as well. See right here, right? So you come down, you see these topics. So really each of these could be its own space, for example. And we already started to move. So we have, this starting out here, which is nice. We already started to move exercises here now shows up as a space, right? So it's a topic space. Now, one thing we didn't do yet is make it easy to move content. So, these exercises are showing up here, right? Right, you see I'm in the exercise space, but if I click on this, it navigates me to the health space because this content is still just in the health space. So if we make it easier to move, then, for example, that relevant content, you would stay inside of the exercise space. So these are the sorts of things we're going to be kind of hacking on to make some of the space management stuff more effective. But cool. Great demo. Super cool. Does anybody else want to demo?
Yeah, I could demo the tool I've built,
Hey,
the
yeah,
Geo
let's do it.
Coder Explorer. Let me see if I can share my screen.
I actually tried using it today, Pierrick, or did use it. I like prepared my publication using your tool locally.
Ah, nice. Um,
Yeah, now it was an interesting okay, here we go.
okay. Yeah. So basically, I've built this tool because first I was like importing in my own space, and then after each time I wanted to like clean what I imported, I had to like remove things. So it wasn't very like I would say practical to do this. And since I'm mainly using code to import entities, I thought it would be easier to do this locally. So that's when I started to build this tool. So basically, this tool is kind of like a copy of the Geo protocol locally, and it uses the Geo SDK to be able to like create the entities and import them. And so it imports all of this in a Postgre database. So it's overall it's a pretty simple tool. So as I said, I mainly use it to import with scripts, but we can still create entities via the tool. So here, if we click here, it's possible to create the entity, add the properties. So here, for example, it's by ID, but maybe it would be easier if we had the list of like properties, something that can be improved. And then once an entity is added, So it's displayed here in this table. So it's possible to order it by like the various columns. So either by updated at, created at, or by properties name. And then also all the IDs are the same IDs that are then when you publish. Once you publish on Geo, it will be the same IDs since we use the SDK to create them. And so we can then also order and filter by space, for example, or like relation, properties. Currently, I'm working on the HCPCS level 2 code, so I can filter by codes. And then after, we can also like select multiple like entities if we want to like delete them. And then we can click on the property and it will display the ID of the property when it was created at and the last time it was updated. And also it lists all the properties of the entity. And it's possible to see all the relations. So here we see that this entity is of type HCPCS level 2 code. And then we can click on like this property. We see all the information of the property and also all the relations. So with like here, for example, we know it's of type property. It belongs to the else space. It's a renderable type URL. And then after we have all the various properties that are associated with this main property. So that's about it for the main entities page. And now we can like browse through all the entities. And then there's also a search feature. And the other feature is like a graph one. So I would say it's pretty experimental so far. It's kind of useful if you want to click on a type and then it can show you what's like here we see, for example, it's of type property and data type text. And then I guess if I was finding maybe the like else space or even like this code, like so yeah, we could go back to find the HCPCS level 2 code. And then if I'll double click, we will see all the properties. As I said, it requires a bit more work because for now it's pretty experimental. And then we have the edit sections that basically list all the various edits that were applied. So like that, we have an history of everything that was added to the database. And if there's an issue, we can go back and see, oh, maybe this edit like replaced this data. So I don't use this that much, but maybe in the future it will be useful. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, great work. Super cool. I think very useful. And thanks for open sourcing it so people can use it and hopefully contribute to it as well.
Yeah, that's a goal.
Awesome. Yeah, super cool. One question here is would it make sense to maybe make the name a little bit more prominent on this table?
The
Because most entities have a name.
uh-huh.
Instead of kind of, yeah, so there it's, I guess it's under properties.
Yeah, so this
Uh,
is the name, yeah.
yeah, so that's the name.
Yeah, basically we take like the main name properties that we display here.
Got it. Okay, makes sense. Yeah, maybe the column could be name,
Yeah.
the column header. It could be a little more prominent. But yeah, super cool. So yeah, so you've been working it, and then what's your workflow? So have you been kind of using agents to do this stuff, and then do they put it in the database and you see it here, and then you kind of hit publish?
Yeah, so basically how I built it. So I've used this agent called what is called Factory Droid. And so they have this new feature called missions. And so basically I just described what I wanted and like I gave the documentation for the Geo SDK and it went and I think it ran for like 5 or 6 hours and it just created the first version. And then once I got that after, I've iterated, but mainly using AI. Like to be honest, some of the code I don't really know what it does, but it works. Since it's local, it's kind of fine. And
Yeah.
I've been iterating this way.
Yeah. Awesome. And where do you want to take this? What are some kind of features you're thinking about?
For now, I don't really know what I could add. I'm mainly gonna use it to publish all the HCPCS code, and then after I'll see with other like bounties I can work on how I can like improve it.
Cool. Sounds good. Awesome. Well, yeah, really great work here, and thanks for sharing it with the community.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So another strong week. Some really killer demos. So please, yeah, keep it up. We'd love for you to be sharing the stuff that you're doing on X. It's really cool to see it there. We'll be setting up to do more with world affairs and US politics. So anyone who's interested in those areas, come find us, jump in the Discord. I think it's been working really well having people chatting more in the public channels versus the DMs. So hopefully, it's been really nice seeing people helping each other out in there. So really appreciate that. And keep up the great work, everyone. Thanks, y'all. Have a great week. See you here next week.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks.